Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is your ultimate guide to Citadelle Day More, so you can go from absolute beginner on the map all the way through to knowing where everything is, and also having good training spots, and also knowing how to do some of the little sneaky Easter eggs on the map as well. So let's get started. In the spawn area, you're going to spawn in and you're going to notice that you're going to have 3 Gobblegums. Now, these are actually highlighted in your Gobblegum pack before you begin your game as being given to you when you spawn in. So customize your pack accordingly so that you have the gobbles that you might want. Now, inside the spawn area, it's pretty open, so this is actually an area that we could come back and hoard in later on. And a little side Easter egg you can do right at the start of your game is to actually come into this bar area or this tavern and head upstairs to this pool table. If you shoot one of the snooker balls on the pool table, it'll rumble around for just a second and then 100 points will pop out and you can grab them. Now, while you're in the spawn, if you want to speed your game up and just generally get to like round 10 faster, which is useful for the main quest Easter egg on this map, and it's useful for building the swords as well, you can choose optionally to turn on the rampage inducer, and then you can basically just copy what I'm doing here and use the fact that you're tucked in this area to make the zombies stagger a little bit before they get to you, and it's just a nice way to speed up those first couple of rounds. But you can turn it off at any time if it gets too overwhelming. Now, once you're ready to leave the spawn area, you've got 2 options. You can go left or you can go right, and they're both pretty equal. I wouldn't say that one is necessarily better than the other, so just pick the one that feels right to you, and once you get to the second gate, that's going to lead to the castle entrance, which is locked. And to open that up, we're going to need to open a couple more doors. So hop up here onto the castle ramparts once you've opened the doors up, and then head on over to the cannon wheel here and start rotating that wheel. And then once it's fully rotated, you can fire the cannon and that's going to open the castle gate. And as soon as you've done this, good news, you've got Juggernog unlocked. So you can go over to Juggernog inside the middle of that area that's just opened and buy that for 2,500 points. Also, if you're getting low on ammo at any point, you can just buy ammo for your gun for 250 from one of the ammo caches. But by this point in your game, you're pretty likely to get your first vermin round. And that's going to spawn in parasites and vermin. And then at the end of that round, you'll get a max ammo and you'll be able to continue shooting zombies next round from there. Now, let's say you've gone a little further into your game at this point. You've got your Juggernog and you're like, okay, maybe I'm sort of getting close to round 10 or something like that, but I want another max ammo. If you go back towards the spawn area and if you opened the door on the right-hand side, you can come to where I'm standing in the gameplay clip just here and copy what I'm doing, shooting how I'm shooting, and you can get a free max ammo just as a side Easter egg, and this can be activated at any time in your game. So you could use that now if you wanted, or you could save it for later on when things get a little bit more hectic towards some of the later rounds. Now, progressing from Jug, we're going to open a couple more doors to get the Pack-a-Punch machine activated. So you can buy again to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And then once you get into this room, you're going to find that there's a massive crate in here with these locks on it. You need to shoot all the locks, and then there's a ghast inside. So if you're worried about taking that ghast down, I'd recommend before you shoot the locks, you've already bought yourself Juggernog just to give yourself a little bit of extra firepower, or you can go over to the arsenal machine and upgrade your weapon rarity, and that's also going to give you a damage boost. Anyway, take out the ghast and then grab the red crystal that it drops and then put it into the red portal behind it to activate the Pack-a-Punch. And you can then Pack-a-Punch for 5,000 points. Tier 2 will be 15k and Tier 3 will be 30k. But just for now, standard Tier 1 Pack-a-Punch is plenty for the time being. Now, as the rounds start to advance here, you're going to get to round 10, and on round 10, you're going to start getting these zombies spawning in that have the metal helmets on their heads, and these guys are going to drop stamps for you from round 10 onwards. And once you get a stamp, you need to pick it up and then come over to this room here, this sort of central room where these knights are, and you can exchange your stamp for a sword from one of the knights, and that's how you get the dedicated sword melee weapon in this map. Now, there is a way to get a fire sword, a lightning sword, a dark sword, and a light sword, and I've got a full guide for that linked in the description down below and in the corner of the screen right now. But just for the time being, using the regular sword is totally valid and it is pretty strong. Now, also in this room is the new perk in the map, Vulture Aid. So if you come up the stairs here, you can buy that perk, and it's going to cost more money if you've already bought several other perks. So just bear that in mind. If you want to test that new perk out, buy it pretty early in your game. But once you've bought Vulture Aid, it's going to do a couple of things. First, you're going to notice that zombies are going to start dropping money, which they wouldn't normally do. Normally, they just give you money for killing them, but now there's actually going to be points drops on the floor, and it'll only be 10 points, but still, every little helps, right? Now, if you look at the augments for Vulture Aid, there's also some pretty cool stuff, like it spawns in gas clouds that you can hide in, and you can get more salvage, and all sorts of stuff. And so generally, if you're the sort of player that likes to pick things up in your game, like you really like hoarding points and hoarding salvage and all that sort of stuff, this is the perk for you. But it's not going to give you a crazy DPS boost or anything, so if you're looking for pure firepower, it might be a better idea to buy something like Deadshot Daiquiri first. So let's show you real quick where some of these perks are. If we head back to the spawn area and we go up the left-hand side pathway, you can see Deadshot Daiquiri just on the side here, and actually just next to Deadshot, you can find a lightning rod, which is used as part of the sword upgrade process that I mentioned I have linked in the description down below. If you're looking for speed cola, that's on the right-hand side path, so you're going to be heading up that slope, and you can find speed just as you get to the castle battlements. Then if you go onto the castle battlements, you can find melee macchiato on one side, and if you do a 180 on the other side, you can find elemental pop in the castle turret. And then we already showed you where Juggernog was, we've already showed you where Voltrade is as well, and Stamina Up can also be found just here, pretty close by as well. The last perk on the map is Quick Revive, and that might sound weird because where's the PhD machine, right? That has to be accessed via the Wonder Fizz, and the Wonder Fizz is going to spawn in from the later rounds, so get to like round 25, it will spawn in, and it's going to spawn in the top of the bar area, and that will contain every perk in the map, so you can buy them all in one place. So now you've been doing a bit of exploring, but we haven't yet covered where the arsenal machines are. So there's one arsenal machine just here, as you can see, and at the arsenal machine, you can get yourself ammo mods as well as weapon rarity upgrades, so highly recommend doing that. And if you get Deadwire, you can use that for another one of the lightning sword upgrade steps. And there's another arsenal machine in the castle courtyard area just here, as you can see. And at any time, by the way, if you're like, oh man, I can't remember where things are, you can pull up your scoreboard and then tab over to your TAC map, and there's icons for everything. It'll show you where all the traps are as well, and it'll show you arsenal machines and things like that. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about the new traps in this map. So there are a couple of these and they're pretty awesome. So the first one we'll talk about is this oil trap. When you activate that, it's going to pour boiling oil on the zombies, and that is going to damage them, but you can make it even more epic by using a Molotov on the oil to ignite it, and then the zombies are going to go up in flames. There's also a lot of these eyeball traps around the map. So the way these work is you run over to one, you hold square while you're standing on it, and then it's going to give you infinite ammo while you're standing in that red circle, and you can just spray down all the zombies around you, and the zombies are going to get slowed when they enter the red circle. So it kind of acts like Ring of Fire from Cold War zombies, except it's a little different now, and you also get these red kind of bolts that fire out of your gun as you shoot to do even more damage. So overall, it's a pretty awesome trap. And when you use one of these, it's going to come back off cooldown in about a minute and a half or so. Now, you're probably starting to get towards the mid game here as you do all this exploring, and you're going to start seeing more of these ghasts spawning in, and you're also potentially going to start getting amalgams in your game as well, because ghasts are actually going to evolve into amalgams after like several minutes of them being alive on the map. So it is worth taking those down. So how do we take them down more easily? Well, if you do have an amalgam, don't worry, you can use Shadow Rift on it, or you could use Deadwire, and that's going to make your life a lot easier in killing it very quickly. And if you've just got a lot of doppelghasts that are chasing you down, don't worry, you can use Light Mend, and that's going to be super effective on them. Now, a pro tip also for the doppelghasts is if you're struggling with them, just make sure that when they start doing this little sort of chargey thing, you avoid all the spines that they shoot out, because not only are those spines going to slow you and damage you, but they're also going to affect your vision temporarily, and that's just going to make it easier for zombies to creep up on you. So if you see them doing that little attack, make sure that you duck out of the way. Then as soon as it's done, you can pop back out of cover and just pour damage into its eyes, and you're going to need to crit it there, and that's going to make it a lot easier for you to take them down. Now, I mentioned Light Mend a second ago. What's the deal with Light Mend, right? How does that work? Well, basically, each bullet you fire is going to have a chance to transform an enemy's health into a healing glyph that moves towards injured players, such as yourself, or towards one of your teammates. And you can augment this to be a little different. So for example, the healing glyphs can actually turn into damage glyphs, but overall, this is sort of a support player's dream. So especially if you're the guy that revives everybody in your games, then using Light Mend is going to be a really good idea. Now then, something that you might have spotted while you were doing the Pack-a-Punch earlier is that there's actually a fast travel on this map. So you can come behind the Pack-a-Punch machine here and hold square on this cave slide, and it will then put you through a little cave slide. And you can use this cave slide to activate one of the Raven steps for the Raven sword upgrade that I mentioned, linked in the description down below. Or you could just use it to get back to the sort of spawn area of the map nice and quickly. Alternatively though, if you don't want to use the cave slide, you can fire yourself out of the cannon on the map. So run up to the battlements, hold square on the front of the cannon, and it will fire you back into the spawn. Now, while you're moving around the map, you might see these kind of weirdly wriggly money boxes moving around the map, and these, when shot or destroyed, will give you salvage, or they could give you an enemy spawn, or they can give you points. So these are really worth looking out for early in your game to make sure that you're sort of getting loaded up correctly. But these aren't the only sort of secret areas on the map. So there's actually another one which is Maya specific. So you have to be playing as the Maya operator, and if you spawned in as her, you can come over to this door, and I believe this is like past round 12 only or something, and you'll start hearing Morse code coming from this radio. Once you start hearing that radio signal from the radio, hold square on it and hold square on the door here, and you'll be able to enter a secret area that is incredibly cool, but it is full of bugs. So be very careful that you don't go in here too early in your game when you've got like low power and bad weapons. But once you go in, take out all the bugs, and then you'll be able to fight through, and Chloe and Laurent will be inside here, and you can take both of them down, and then that will get you a secret cutscene in the map, which isn't even the main quest Easter egg, it's just a separate thing entirely. And once you finish watching the cutscene, you'll even pop out of the room with a free reward on the floor as well. Now, speaking of side Easter eggs, there's another one that we can do, and that's the music Easter egg. So for this, there are 3 headsets around the map that we need to find. The first is just here, so it's going to be on a table in the tavern in the spawn area. Go over to it and hold square, and that will activate it. Then the second is going to be just here, as you can see in my game. It's in the corner of the courtyard, and it's pretty tucked away, but that's how you can get yourself the second one. And then the third one is going to be in the Undercroft stairway next to the table with the chessboard on it, so hold square on that, and that will activate your third headset, and the music Easter egg will play. Next, we're going to do an Easter egg that's going to get you a free perk, and I believe it's always free PhD actually, and you're going to get a ton of points from this as well. So the first thing we need to do is pick up 3 bottles around the map. The first one is in the Undercroft, and it's going to be next to a guy just laying out on the couch. He's just chilling, dude, and maybe we're grabbing his beer bottle. Sorry, buddy. The second beer bottle can be found just across from Stamina Up, and it's on this shelf just by the, I think, bottom rack. And the third beer bottle is near a couch again, but this time it's in the room with the 4 knights. So follow where I'm going in the gameplay here, and you'll find the bottle on the floor. So grab that, and once you've grabbed all 3 of those bottles, head back to the spawn area and come into the bar. Once you're in there, go behind the bar, and you'll see this little silver tray that you can interact with. Hold square on that, and this is gonna then basically turn you into a bartender. So what's gonna happen is a bunch of zombies are gonna spawn in, and you need to give them drinks according to their color. So each time you do so, it'll give you a bunch of points, and you just need to continuously do this for a couple of minutes, and you'll get a huge number of points from it. And then at the very end of it, once you've served all the zombies all their drinks, you'll get yourself your free PhD. Now, earlier in the video, we already talked about the free max ammo. You could always use that at this point in your game, should you so desire, or you can get yourself a free max power if you come into the room with Vulturade, and then on the roof, directly across the courtyard from Vulturade, if you just copy what I'm doing in the gameplay here, you can spawn in a free max power. And with your max power, you could use the new field upgrade in the map, which is Tesla Storm. And this works by chaining electricity between you and any teammates that you might have spawned in, and it'll zap all the zombies that get kind of clotheslined by that electricity. Now, in terms of places to hoard, places to train, places to get to higher rounds and stuff like that, I really love the spawn area, like I said earlier. It's just super open there, and you also do have access to the fast travel in the lower bar if you do need to get into the other side of the map. So you can just run down there and hold square on that portal, and it will teleport you over. But yeah, the actual spawn area itself is very, very open, and there's an arsenal machine and a crafting table as well, so you have access to both of those as well. So you've sort of got everything you could possibly need, and a gobblegum machine too. And if you go through some of the main quest Easter egg steps, you can also unlock incantations in this area, and my main quest Easter egg guide is linked on screen right now for you to click through to, and I really highly recommend you give it a go because it's one of the best Easter eggs we've ever had in Call of Duty Zombies history. And you can continue playing off the Easter egg, and you'll get free legendary ether tools, free pap crystals, free ray guns, like all sorts of stuff. So click through to that main quest Easter egg guide now, guys.